we're good.
Okay, so discuss the following questions and any others that come to mind. From your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams?
So yeah, I mean, for me, like team that I was on at work, that was actually kind of very similar with like what was being described in the article. The team was open and able to discuss like freely with each other. There's no fear of like judgment or like, hey, my idea is better than yours. Able to bounce ideas off of each other. Everybody had like their own responsibilities and knew what their responsibility was, and everybody did it without having to like be asked to do it and like disciplined to do it or anything like that. That was a team where our supervisor at the time truly acted like somebody who was like facilitating a team, somebody who like came in and said, hey, what can we do? What can I do for you? How can we set you guys to be successful? Helped out with like figuring out who should be delegated to do the different tasks, facilitated discussions, asked questions to kind of get people thinking and moving toward an idea. So I think that made us really effective. It's tough though. I mean, getting a dynamic like that, I think it takes time and it takes trust, and you have to be able to be unafraid to like discuss things with people and open up to people, and it made us really effective. And we were always putting top results out on the floor, and so I think that's the article really kind of struck for me. Is it reminded me of that team I was on, and how we were so comfortable with each other and able to be open with each other.
Yeah. When I was looking over this question, I was thinking of a department that I was working at the school. How we rotated who was in charge, but we also gave people different opportunities to kind of like like be able to manage the situation, come up with ideas, set a parameter. Okay, like this is what needs to get done, and it gave them the free range to come up with different ideas to problem solve. And I always thought that was a really good environment. And I mean, we also had downtime in the office where we were right next to each other, where we could build personal relationships, which I really enjoyed. And I feel like a big part of it is the team has to be there for one another, in the sense that they've got to want to be part of the team, because if you have somebody that doesn't want to be part of the team, then even though they might exclude themselves, it does take away from the rest of the team.
It's true.
So like having everybody involved, and I mean sometimes being a team leader, it's kind of hard to encourage that. But I feel like that also comes back to what you're saying about that safe environment and kind of what the article said.
Yeah, that's what, it's difficult. Like when you're a supervisor or a leader of a group or a team, when you have somebody who's kind of maybe disengaged or separated from the group a little bit, you as that person have to find ways to like understand what that person's strengths are and what they want to do and what their goals are, and try to mold your environment around that to get them to be involved. That's difficult though. It's like you find people like that there's different quadrants. One thing we do at work is we have different quadrants of the type of like people, I guess there are. And you have the upper left-hand corner, which is a lot of our sales folks who are AI. So they're, they're active, but they are kind of independent. They're not really collaborative. They like their ego stuff and things like that. But then you have the passive people, these passive people who are independent, who really just kind of want to show up and do their thing, do their work thing, not really interact with people, and then leave. Those are the hardest people, like I feel like, to try to engage with and like get involved in a group setting, because they just are like a passive person as it is, an independent person as it is, but it's tough to get them to buy into a group environment. But that's the job of leaders, I suppose, is figuring that out. One of the things that we read in 7 Habits this week that really kind of stuck out to me was about the comment that things are efficient. People aren't efficient. Things are efficient. People are effective. So I think when you have a group setting and a team setting where people are effective rather than efficient, that's what really helps foster a good environment too, of being innovative and high quality, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me a little bit about the reading, about how they talked about the team A and team B. Do you remember that in the reading? Not the book, but in the Google. About how team A, they were trying to be effective, and then team B was, efficient, and then team B was being effective. Where even though they ran out of time, they still stayed and talked, and so that's another thing, that how rather than be stuck on being efficient, where the team struggled in their norms.
I agree.
Yeah. So our next question is, what do group norms have to do with effective team building? What would you say your current group norm includes? Unspoken and spoken norms. Are they healthy group norms? If not, what could be changed? So I feel like we've talked about what group norms are with effective team building. But what would you say are our current group norms?
Obviously, we haven't really talked about group norms, which is fine. I don't think we really need to talk about group norms between you and me. But I think kind of some of the unspoken ones that I think we do a good job with is, when we're talking, we listen to each other, and then we respond to each other. So it's that respecting ideas and respecting, everyone's time, everyone's point of view. You may not agree on something, which I don't think has really happened yet at this point, but it's being open and listening to them. So I think we do a good job with that. I don't think we necessarily need to speak about any norms that we need to set, because I think we come into this with the understanding of, hey, let's collaborate, let's talk, let's go through that and kind of listen to each other and respect each other's ideas.
Yeah, and I always feel like it's really good to have an environment where people can toss out ideas and just be able to speak, because sometimes, a thought might, I know something I struggle with is having fully developed thoughts, but I feel like as getting opportunity to explain our thoughts kind of helps us develop those thoughts more, and can be really good plans later on.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There's sometimes where it's funny because I'll have thoughts and then I'm like, I don't know really how to convey this, so I can't figure out how to put this into words. But then I hear somebody else talk, and I hear kind of how they have a similar thought to mine, a similar line of process, I think like thought line of process, and I go, oh yeah, that's kind of what my thought is going on, and I can respect. I think that's why I do like group settings too, is because, you know, I'll have similar ideas, and then people will talk up and speak about it that maybe speak clearer than me, and, you know, have a better understanding than me, and it really just kind of helps streamline my, you know, my own personal thought line and thought process as well.
You know, let's see. I don't know if this is really a question. Let's see. Well, I guess it kind of relates to the next question. So our next question is, how does psychological safety in a team increase overall effectiveness? What is the role of communication and empathy in increasing psychological safety?
I think that's kind of, hey, how are you?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
We're just working through the questions right now, and, you know, getting some good discussion going.
Yeah. I got an email yesterday, I think it was yesterday, from Samuel. And apparently there's some kind of a time conflict or something with him. I guess he has to work on Saturdays.
Oh.
So I'm gonna see if I can talk to him and figure that out. So
Okay.
anyway.
Okay, cool. All right.
This is before I forget. I apologize for interrupting your flow here.
No worries.
But Daniel, are you going to be available after this phone call or after this HOA?
Yeah, I'll be available.
I would like to chat with you offline. Do you want me to call you or do you want to call me?
I can call you. I can give you a call.
Okay. Yeah, so after this is done, give me a buzz, please. Thanks.
Yeah, do you want me to do a video call or do you just call you on the phone?
No, just call my cell phone.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. We were just talking about psychological safety and how it increases overall effectiveness and all that. So, yeah, I think, you know, the biggest thing, kind of going back to what we were talking about with effectiveness rather than efficiency, I think you become effective when you're able to talk through ideas, because not everybody thinks of something the same way. You know, and more than likely the first idea is probably not going to be the best idea and the best way to do it. But you become effective when you present the idea. You are open and receptive, so you're respecting the idea, and then you're able to say, hey, maybe if we think about it this way, or we do things this way, or, you know, somebody else comes up and says, hey, I did this in the past and this worked really well. You're able to find these different ideas and different viewpoints and come to a consensus as a team for something that will not only be, say, efficient, but it will be effective as well. It just takes that collaboration, you know, it takes that being able to bounce ideas off and be confident that everyone is working to the same goal of being effective. Not, hey, look at my idea, or hey, look how great I am. Because that, I think, is something that really turns people off, make them afraid to share a little bit. But when everyone's working to that same idea of, hey, let's make it the best possible version that we can be, no matter whose it is, it's our idea, not my idea.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention was, excuse me, my manager at work right now, one thing she really does that's I think is really good, especially for psychological safety in the team, is when one of us is having a rough day, whether it be with school or stuff at home, she's really good to like notice that, whether we're having a rough day, because she kind of comes in and pulls us aside and talks to us about what's going on, giving us that opportunity to feel like it's a safe environment to talk about our feelings rather than, oh, I'm only here to do work. Oh, hold on one sec.
Oh, you're good, man.
I'm going to see if I can put her in her jumper.
No, no worries. I got lucky because mine is oh, you can't, it's dark. Mine's knocked out right there.
So she's done there.
See, now you're lazy, baby. Ah, come on. Okay. Okay. Let's see. You good? So what I was saying is she pulls us aside and talks to us. And I feel like when we get caught up in personal trials and stuff, it's kind of hard to be a part of the group. And so I really like the, oh shoot, what's his name? Okay, I can't pronounce this at all. He was the SWAT team leader.
Mm-hmm.
If you know in the Google reading, Sakaguchi.
Yeah.
He explained, like, he pulled his team to an off-site and they just had a chance to talk and get to know each other. And he explained one of the difficulties he was going through was stage 4 cancer. And then the other group members started talking. Some of them started to talk about their difficulties. Like one of them described a health issue of her own. Another described a difficult breakup. And so being able to get those problems off your chest allows you to kind of be more focused in the team. And it does, I feel like it builds that safety.
Yeah, I think it's when you share those types of things, when you're open like that, you're able to make connections with the person, like the actual person, and not just the vessel of somebody who has to work. Like you make connections with people, and it kind of goes back to a little bit when you were talking about your boss. Goes back to some of that emotional intelligence stuff that we read last week. When we talk about being self-aware, she was self-aware and she understands and is open to people's reactions and people's demeanor and behavior. She has that awareness, and so she's able to have empathy. And that's when we talk about empathy in a group setting. You have empathy without being self-aware first. Once you become self-aware, then you can have empathy for other people. I think that's key because I don't think a lot of folks like realize that. Like, yes, people want to have empathy, but if you can't have self-regulation and self-awareness first, it's going to be very difficult or impossible, I think, to have empathy.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to say? Brain fart. Nope, I forgot what I was going to say. No, because one of the things that you're saying kind of got me thinking, and then I forgot it.
It's all good.
Empathy, safety. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to psychological safety before we move on to the next question?
I think we've covered that one pretty good.
If I could just jump in real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just from a faith-based point of view, religious point of view, psychological safety invites the Spirit. Because God doesn't compel people. I mean, we have to let the Spirit in. We have to. He'll bring knowledge and truth to us, but we have to let it in. And I think feeling psychologically safe is whether you're with people of your faith or not, any group. It allows the Spirit to have an influence with the group, regardless of the makeup of the group. Because the Holy Ghost isn't going to go somewhere where there's a war going on, right? I mean, so, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure, because I think when you are in an environment where you're psychologically safe, there's no judgment. There's no feelings of what you're saying isn't right or what I'm thinking is better, because those are, I think, spirit demotivators. Those are things that drive the spirit away. When you have an environment where everyone is open and listening, I think I 100% agree with you. That's what invites the Spirit in, and that's what allows you to be able to be taught by the Spirit as well. So I 100% agree.
Thank you for that comment. So, how does sharing personal experiences in being vulnerable influence a team's dynamic? Do you have any personal examples of this organizations you are involved in?
Yeah, we kind of just talked about that one a little bit, but yeah. It breaks down the barriers and opens you up to other people. When you can make connections with people, that's probably the missing link, I think, to all this learning is the Spirit, because I think people can feel the Spirit at any point. So that's what breaks down the barriers and opens people up to people, opens up people to ideas and allows people to be effective. When it comes to like personal examples, I shared a little bit about my team before that I was on, very similar to that. I had a recent experience though where it was a group setting where we're going through our big business plan for the next year, and I'm the new one to the kind of supervisory team, and I had to present on a really difficult kind of topic, and this is in front of our senior vice president, our assistant vice president, so kind of like basically everyone who's everybody in my region. And I got pressed a little bit by them, and challenged a little bit by them, not in like a bad way, but more so a way that they wanted answers and wanted us to think about something some way. And I afterward was feeling, man, I was kind of feeling beat up a little bit, and I was like, man, I had done all this research and I felt good about it and went in, and it didn't quite pan out and work out the way that it was. But my peers, my team that I'm on now, my supervisor peer, they all came up to me afterwards like, hey, you did a really good job. You presented it this way. You're really solid. So they were able to kind of shift my focus and my emotional direction in a way that made me see things differently and see how it played out a little bit differently. Because that was a moment, I think, where like emotionally and like performance wise, from that point it could have gone either way. Like I could have been like, man, I was terrible, and my job was terrible, and then I take that to my team, my own personal team, and they feed off that emotion, and it could have just streamlined all out of control. But because my team is open and receptive and willing to build each other up, it completely was able to change my emotion and my thought process about how things went. So that was that was something I had recently that really, I think, stuck out to me when you read that question.
Yeah, that's a really good example. How do you, like, I mean, this isn't a question, but how do you feel, say you were going into an environment where it's set on more of like the team aspect, trying to be more efficient rather than effective. How do you feel like your best way of, you're okay. How do you feel would be the best way to encourage being more effective and encourage that safety rather than just continue with their norms? Like, I feel like that becomes kind of like difficult when you get put into a new group where their norms are set, but it's not the most effective norms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think it's easy. I think about kind of what we've been reading in 7 Habits. You know, part of being principle centered, I think, is probably the first step with that. So understanding kind of what the group's, you know, principles are that define its mission statement, and making sure everybody's on the same page with that. Because when you get into a group environment, kind of what I was talking about earlier with you have people that are passive and which are just kind of there. You want to be able to get everyone's thoughts and come to, you know, whatever your principle center is that drives your mission statement, goal as a team. Getting everybody on the same page with what that is. Because I think once everybody's on the same page with what that is, then you can have discussions about, you know, X, Y, and Z, because everyone then is on the same page with working toward the same goal. Is that easy? I don't think so. It's difficult. It takes time, and it takes people to be willing and open. But I don't think it could be had without having those discussions about, you know, what are our principles, what's our team's mission statement, what are our goals, so everyone truly understands why we're on a team and what we're building to.
I think that's a great observation. Is this autobiographical, Daniel? Are you on a team where?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking of, like, I know for me that would be something I guess it is autobiographical, but I mean, currently I'm not in that situation. But I feel like going into like a future job or something where something is set, even though it's not the most effective way, it's something that job is done for years. Hold on, I'm gonna grab my girl.
Yep.
Anyways, that's something that the job is done for years, and coming in and trying to make it more effective, make it more of that psychological safety. Like, okay, this is kind of off topic, but I'm the kind of person that thinks of problems and likes to try to solve them, if that makes sense. Like, that's how I go to bed at night, is I think of math problems and I solve them. But I was just thinking, you know, it'd be a good question to ask, like, if we get put into a situation where a team's struggling with being effective rather than being efficient, like, how would you as a team member encourage that movement?
Well, I think
So,
if I can build
Yeah.
on what Kevin's already said, if I was in a situation like that, well, first of all, it underscores the importance of having a shared vision. You know, this idea of having a mission statement and understanding what that is. So, assuming there is a mission statement,
Mhm.
then if you find yourself going in a direction where the focus is on efficiency, you can use that as a reference point. Say, look, we said this is what we're all about. We said this is what we want to do,
Mhm.
but this procedure that we have set up, this direction we've chosen to go in, at least it seems to me, is not working toward accomplishing what we said we wanted, or it's not working very well to accomplish it. You know, so do we need to revisit that? And I think the example was, I think Covey uses in the book about, you know, the hacking through the jungle,
Yep.
and then sooner or later someone climbs a tree to see where they are, and they find out they're in the wrong jungle. Right? They were being very efficient.
Mhm.
You know, they were working their way through this problem, but it wasn't where they wanted to be or where they wanted to go. So I think that, you know, having that frame of reference to come back to what we said we wanted to accomplish, we're doing a good job of going in that direction, but is that really where we want to go? Is that taking us where we said we wanted to go?
Yeah.
well, thank you for answering that question, guys.
Sure.
Because I mean, I feel like I personally would struggle and kind of decide to go with the flow at first.
Well, your question's a good question because that's a real deal. You find yourself in a group and they say they want to all about this, but then they sort of head off in another direction,
Mhm.
and that really speaks to the psychological safety issue. Do you feel safe enough to be able to say to your group, "Hey, I think we're going in a direction we don't want to be going into"?
Mhm.
And sometimes it's easier to sit on your hands and not say anything, or because of you don't feel psychologically safe, you don't say something. So you kind of have to work out and see what you can do, and it really speaks to habit 5 of seeking first to understand, making sure you're not jumping to a conclusion. Because this may seem ineffective to you, but maybe they've thought this out and said, okay, we have to do this in order to go to this next phase or whatever. So
Yeah.
we're gonna do it anyway. So that seek first to understand comes in, and then once you've got a clear picture of what's going on, then you can add your input.
Mhm. That's and you know that's what's difficult also, like when you work in kind of a corporate environment where it's very, you know, the pyramid, you have your line associates, and then you have your supervisor, middle management people, then you have your upper management. You know, that's as you get through the levels of management, that seek to understand is important. That's the piece though that a lot of just regular associates, line associates, entry level folks, they don't. It's tough. It's a dynamic at that level because they don't always seek to understand. They see something and react to it. So, that's one of the things I was thinking about too. Is You know, it's tough. You have to have like self-awareness. Everyone has to have self-awareness, whether you are the CEO or you're, you know, the person taking, you know, cash register or whatever. You know, it works for everyone. So it's, I think the way you kind of start to battle that is some of the things that we learned about in Habit 2 and Habit 3, where it's having that vision and working toward that vision. And if you don't understand it, you know, talking and vetting through, you know, what is our vision? This is why we're doing what we're doing. So there's complete understanding and buy-in from everybody, from the top to the bottom.
So our last question is, what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior? I think we kind of went over that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I think it's, you know, it's always good when you're in that team environment, when you see something isn't going the way that you feel your vision as the team, you know, what you establish, it's not going toward that. I think it's always good to point to your goal, your mission statement that says, hey, we came to this idea. This is what we said we wanted to be and what we wanted to do. And this is what's being done. Because you're not just then saying, hey, it's me, it's us, it's our group. We came to this decision. And then I think that allows people to kind of just reassess, you know, what they do individually, but how they contribute also to the team, what the team is doing to move forward and move toward that common vision.
Yeah.
It's tough though. You gotta have that psychological safety. You have to be confident that your group and, you know, your environment and your setting is open and responsive to that. It's tough because it means that people need to check egos at the door, and that's tough.
It is tough.
Yeah, and I feel like also, even if there's not that psychological safety, even though that you might not be like the leader of the group, you can still build that psychological safety by taking the time to getting to know your coworkers. I mean, at first, I feel like it'll still be a struggle in a group setting, but as an individual setting, people will feel more comfortable to come to you and ask you questions and be able to work one-on-one with people.
You know, as you say that, that's because we talked a little bit earlier how there's different types of people. You have, you know, the people who are very collaborative, but then you have the people who are kind of passive and withdrawn. The people who are passive and kind of individualistic don't typically share in a group, participate in a group setting. But like what you just said of taking the time to get to know somebody and understand kind of what makes them tick and experiences they have, that's also a way to help those type of people be successful and contribute to a group setting, because then you can kind of say and reference it in a group setting, hey, didn't you run into that situation? And ask a question that you know they have the answer to and would be confident speaking to, because sometimes those folks don't feel confident speaking to it. But if you kind of basically give them the softball, give them the lob pitch for them to hit, you know, that allows that type of personality and that type of that type of person to kind of contribute to that environment. But it takes the time. It takes the time to kind of, like you said, get to know them outside the group setting, get them to open up to you, and you open up to them outside the group setting, so that way when you get into the group setting, they are more comfortable sharing and contributing in a manner that they feel is best for them.
Covey calls that building the emotional bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you make deposits by doing various things or interacting in various ways, and that gives you some a relationship that you can call on, like Kevin said. Maybe at a certain time. Yeah.
Well, and then also, it kind of goes into the reading the 7 habits of remembering to kind of be that. Oh, I'm trying to think about how he worded it. About not projecting ourselves on people, but allowing them to open up. Because I like the example that he gave about the father and the son. About how with the son wanting to talk, but then kind of projecting, oh, well, in this situation, I did this, or like giving them a real opportunity to talk. Kind of goes into that emotional bank account thing too.
That was a cool story too that he shared, because, man, I probably wouldn't have. I'm just open and honest. Initially, that was probably not how I would have responded, but it's like, I love the concept. I love what he did with that, because it makes me think, all right, how can I do this with my own, finding those opportunities to, to be the teacher, be the leader, and not the dictator, or not the the person that's trying to force change. He took a little. He had that kind of awareness to hold a little bit to allow his son to learn, and have a desire on his own to really pursue excellence. Where if he would have jumped right in when he drove home that day and the kid was playing in the park, if he would have jumped right in and jumped on him, that would have been it for who knows how long. Instead, he was able to get results for time going forward. That takes practice.
That's a lifelong challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like during our discussion today, we've really focused on the key concepts. I don't think we really missed out on anything, especially with the bringing in the reading from the 7 habits.
Yeah, if I could just add one more thought before we go off.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you think about the context of this whole thing, we're talking about Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think of a software search engine company, what do you think of? Or at least this is what I think of. I'm thinking of a kind of a little bit of a nerdy, not really the most social, warm, fuzzy place and all that stuff. I mean, software engineers, statisticians, mathematicians, so they're looking at this team building thing. And I think, what is Google famous for? Google's famous for developing an algorithm for a search engine.
Yep.
And I think they were looking for an algorithm for teams when they were doing this study. And what did they find? There's really no
algorithm. It's the people.
There's no algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a formula. There are principles and so forth that you can apply, but there isn't like really a cut and dried formula.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting to.
Well, and also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and also in the article, you know how you're talking about the engineers and the mathematicians. It mentioned that a lot of these people wanted to work by themselves, and here they are. Google's like, oh, let's work in teams.
Right, exactly.
And they spent, what was it, 3 years and $1 million or something like that
Yeah, it was
on this
amazing.
project.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Something that really didn't need to happen, but
Well, it did for them because it showed them that there's not everything is formulaic. You know,
Mhm.
it's
yeah. Well, does anybody have any last minute comments or things that they would like to share before we?
Mhm. I think we covered it pretty good today.
no, just good to see you guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And
Thank
Daniel,
you.
just give me a call when you get off, when you get this settled. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. I'll send out the link, and I'll take care of my week next week to be the lead person. So I'll make that happen.
Great.
Okay, and I'll try to figure out my YouTube Hangout.
It's all good. No worries. Oh, hey, I meant to ask you: are you ever available Friday nights, or is it only Saturday for you?
I could probably do some Friday nights. It'll be later though, because my wife works all day,
Okay.
and so
If you guys can work out Friday night, that might accommodate Samuel. Apparently, he's in Mexico,
Yeah.
and I think he's 2 hours later than we are. So it's like
Yeah.
10 o'clock where he is.
Mm. Yeah, it's for me because I have some, like, in the coming up here, I have some Saturday morning things that I'm going to have to do. That'll make it difficult for me to do this. So this is probably better for me. Saturday morning's probably better, but there will be a couple Friday nights. I might, if I can get you those nights ahead of time, if we can do it, because it'd probably be late. It'd have to be later for me too. So, we'll talk about it in email and see if we can get that figured out too.
okay, yeah.
Why don't you guys reach out to Samuel, send him an email and just say, how can we make this work? See what he has to say. I'm going to do the same thing, but it'd be good for him to hear from you guys.
Okay, yeah, I could send him an email. In your communication with him, has he communicated with you through his BYU account or through his MSN account? Because he provided both.
Yeah, let me look. Hold on. See what. If I can find him here. Okay. Where did it come from? Yeah, it looked like it came from the BYU.
Okay.
Well, my experience is if there's both of them there, send them to both.
Yeah, I'll try that. He hasn't responded to me at all when I've sent him out, so I'll try and see if I can get a hold of him and see if we can get anything worked out with him.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do the same. So anyway,
Okay.
do what we can to include him.
Okay.
All right. Good to see you guys.
All right. Good to see you. Y'all have a great weekend.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Next week, do you think we can actually try to do Friday night? Because I forgot my family's going to be in town, and I'm going to be doing stuff with them Saturday mornings.
Let me double check. I think we should be good. What time would you think on Friday night?
Well, Friday night I can do. Hey, Natalie, I'm trying to talk. She likes to shove her hand in my mouth. So anytime, because my my dad and my brother will be here, so they can watch her while I do the video.
Okay.
Um,
I know sometime in the next 2 weeks. I don't know if it's next week or the following. I have to work on Friday night.
okay.
And I won't get home until about 9:30, 9:45 my time, and I'm an hour behind you.
Yeah,
So
So
I've
that'd be
got
like at 10
to,
o'clock.
yeah, I just got to figure out if it's next week or the next week. I can't remember which one. So let me check my schedule, and I'll send you an email probably later on today.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thank you.
see you guys.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Right.